AITA for grounding my daughter and canceling her senior trip after I found out she was cheating on her boyfriend. I, 37F, am a single mom to two daughters, Lizzie, 17F, and Mackenzie, 14F. Their father and I divorced a few years ago after I found out he was having an affair. The discovery shattered our family. I worked hard to pick up the pieces and create a stable, loving home for my girls. They live with me most of the time, while their dad has them every weekend and during the summer. For context, Lizzie has been dating Jacob, 18M, for a little over a year now. Jacob is the kind of boyfriend every parent hopes for their teenager. He's polite, kind, and respectful. He's also incredibly driven. He's set to graduate at the top of his class as valedictorian. Jacob is over at our house constantly. He's the type of kid who will say hello when he walks in, ask how your day was, and even offer to help with things like taking out the trash. I've come to care about him as if he were part of the family. That's why what I discovered recently has left me feeling so conflicted. A few weeks ago, I overheard Lizzie talking on the phone late at night. At first, I thought she was talking to Jacob because her tone was flirty and playful. But then I heard her say, "Brandon," my stomach sank a little. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. After all, people can have platonic friends of the opposite gender. But something about the conversation felt different. She was laughing in a way I hadn't heard before, teasing this Brandon in a way that felt intimate. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe it was just a friend from school. Maybe I was projecting my own past experiences with infidelity onto Lizzie. So I decided not to say anything right away. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. A week later, Lizzie told me she was going to hang out with a friend. Again, I didn't think much of it. Lizzie has always been outgoing, and she has a large circle of friends. But as I was doing dishes, I happened to glance out the window and saw her getting into a car. The guy driving leaned over, and Lizzie kissed him. It wasn't Jacob. My heart dropped. I didn't know what to feel. Anger? Sadness? Disappointment? I felt all of it at once. Jacob was such a good kid, and seeing my daughter betray him like this felt so wrong. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to think carefully about how to handle this. A few days later, after Jacob had come over and left, I decided to talk to Lizzie. Watching them together that evening had been almost unbearable. Jacob was his usual sweet self, holding her hand, laughing with her, and acting completely oblivious. Meanwhile, I couldn't stop replaying the image of her kissing someone else in my mind. Once Jacob left, I called Lizzie into the kitchen. I started off gently, asking her about her relationship with Jacob. She immediately became defensive, saying everything was fine and asking why I was bringing it up. That's when I asked her, point blank, "Are you cheating on Jacob with another guy?" Her reaction was immediate. She crossed her arms, rolled her eyes, and told me her personal life was none of my business. I was stunned. I reminded her that I'm her mother, and it is absolutely my business if I see her treating someone badly. After some back and forth, she admitted to seeing someone else. His name was Brandon, and apparently, he's a guy she met through mutual friends. Lizzie told me she was bored with Jacob and wasn't sure if she wanted to break up with him yet. She said Brandon was more her type and that she enjoyed flirting with him, but she hadn't decided if she wanted a serious relationship with him. When I asked why she didn't just break up with Jacob if she wasn't happy, she shrugged and said she liked having the attention from both guys. Hearing her say that broke my heart. I raised her to be better than this. I told her that cheating is never acceptable and that it's incredibly hurtful. She dismissed me, saying it wasn't a big deal and that everyone does it in high school. At that moment, I decided she needed to face real consequences for her actions. I told her she was grounded. No hanging out with friends, no extracurriculars, and no senior trip. She had been looking forward to that trip for months, and I knew it would hit her hard, but I felt it was necessary. I explained that her behavior was wrong and that actions have consequences. She needed to understand that treating people poorly isn't okay. Lizzie, of course, was furious. She stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. A few hours later, I found out she had called her dad and told him everything. The next day, my ex-husband called me, and let's just say the conversation was less than pleasant. He accused me of overreacting and said that Lizzie and Jacob's relationship was just a high school thing. According to him, it wasn't serious, so I shouldn't be interfering. He even had the audacity to tell me I was projecting my own bitterness about our divorce onto Lizzie. That stung. I'll admit, part of me felt like I was reliving the betrayal I experienced in my marriage. But I know this isn't about me. It's about teaching Lizzie the importance of honesty and integrity. I told my ex that this wasn't about my past, but about our daughter's future. If we let her think this behavior is acceptable now, what kind of adult will she grow up to be? He dismissed my concerns, saying teenagers make mistakes and that I was being unreasonable for canceling her senior trip. He said I should let her live a little and stop being so strict. The call ended with him saying I was creating unnecessary drama. Lizzie has been staying at her dad's house for the past few days. She refuses to talk to me unless I reverse my decision about the senior trip. Mackenzie, my younger daughter, has been caught in the middle, asking why her sister is mad at me and if Lizzie is coming back home soon. It's been a tough situation all around. I'm starting to question myself. Am I being too harsh? Should I have handled this differently? I don't want to damage my relationship with Lizzie, but I also feel strongly that she needs to learn from this. Cheating isn't just a high school thing. It's a pattern of behavior that can carry into adulthood, and I want her to understand how much pain it can cause. So, Reddit, AITA, should I have let this go? Or was I right to ground her and cancel her trip?